Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of April 20th, 2023. She says there's an atomic bomb of October 2023. I don't know if that means that she didn't really get it when the first one, and now she believes it because it seemed like it was exploding bigger. Don't know. She said she thinks he is an off and on. I am going to disagree. Given so far what she has said, I'm going to say clinging boomerang. So completely different. And she says he started out as a high energy replayer and seems like a low energy wallower now. But high energy replayers is a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun to be a replay than wallow. And so wallowers try to be replayers. So it will seem that they're starting out as replayers. At the same time, I'm getting the idea this is a cycle. So this may be a high energy replayer. She says he confessed his affair in early February. Now this had me confused. I even restarted the video a few times because it is now the second to last day of February as I'm recording this. And the bomb drop was April of last year. Initially, from everything I was reading, it would make sense that this confession was last February, except that was before bomb drop. But you had a bomb drop in April. Did you not know about the affair then? You had an atomic bomb drop in October. Did you not know about the affair then? Or is it you knew, but he confessed? So I'm very confused on this early February thing because is that only within the last few weeks? So he confessed his affair in early February. He said he was in love with her. And if that's now February, that he has just recently said he's in love with her. As days went on, he began to waver. Cycling. He was affectionate and warm with me. Clinging. Lots of crying. More clinging. That's a clinging tendency. However, when the time came, he left as planned to go meet her. Typical. She's 17 years older. She's his first love. She found him on Facebook. He is now with her overseas. So the now with her and he left to go with her makes it seem like it is this February because he's with her now. But see why I'm confused with the dates. He now says he's ended it, but he's still with her. Okay. He now says he's ended it, but he needs time to wrap up some things over the next few weeks. First, that's normal. We all need time to wrap up the end of relationships. Marriages too. I know it sucks when it's an extramarital thing, but that is normal. And he's already there with her. She says, I think they've planned a trip together. He doesn't want to back out of it. Maybe. He is coming back here early April, and he wants to rebuild our marriage with her not in the picture. He says being there with her made him remember how much he loved me. Okay. It makes me sick to think about them together, and he wants me to keep the door open for him to walk back anytime he wants. So anytime he wants, and I think in the submission it sounded like there was almost a begging, please keep the door open for me. Please hold on for me. And in here she's making it sound it's really the same thing, but anytime he wants. So as a convenience and a backup plan, which one is it? He's clearly not in a hurry to leave her. Right. But his bomb drop wasn't even a year ago. Okay. He says, I love you, and I know it's a lot to ask, but just hold on, please. Okay, there we go. I was waiting for the begging one. More clinging tendency. So I'm trying to show you where I see that this is a clinging person. And that does make me curious why you thought off and on. He and the alienator are at her vacation house in Spain. She's rich. He loves the lifestyle, and I feel like a doormat. If he really wanted to rebuild, wouldn't he jump on a plane right now? Not in midlife crisis, because they don't have the capacity to do the work. You can have a desire, a want, and an unwillingness to do the work. So, your wants are not in line with your actions. But that's how humans can be. We want something, we're not willing to do it. So if you were to say apply a should to that, and who hates to be, none of us like to be shoulded on. But if you were to apply a should, you would say, if you really want to rebuild, shouldn't he jump on a plane right now? And the answer to that would be yes. But the wouldn't he? The answer to that would be, you'd think so, the answer isn't yes. It should be yes, but it isn't, which you've learned. I do not feel comfortable sitting here waiting to see if he'll choose me. You shouldn't feel comfortable. This is not a thing. I do want you to understand MLC to give you, rather than comfort, let's call it peace with it, okay? Waiting to see if he will choose me, and he replied that he loves me and he will never let me go. Please advise me what kind of boundaries should I set when he gets here. I have to let him see the kids, and he will have to stay in our home. I'm going to ask some of that why, not the why you have to let him see the kids, but there could be options other than the home, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, just that you addressed it there. Do I leave again? So the next question is, when you said, do I leave again? Did you leave before? When you say, do I live again, is that a bird nesting kind of thing? Bird nesting is a situation where, as part of co-parenting, the children stay in the home instead of children going to one parent and then the others, and the parents switch homes, but the children get to stay. So I don't know why you're saying, do I leave again? Because other than bird nesting, in midlife crisis, when in this situation, the person who wants out gets out. The person who does not want out of the marriage does not get out of the house. So in that sense, I say no to leaving again. But if it is a bird nesting thing about co-parenting, that's different. Do I cut off all physical contact, including hugs? I want to stand for the marriage, but at the same time, the pain of this is excruciating, and I don't know how much more I can take of the sexual betrayal. I know it's too early for him to go through the tunnel, and the kids are 7 and 10 and adore daddy. So first thing, you know that it is too early for him to go through the tunnel. And you say, if he really wanted to rebuild, wouldn't he jump on a plane right now? But if you know that it's too early for him to go through the tunnel, then you know that the answer to that is no. You know that he wouldn't be ready to get on that plane. Okay? So I went back to your account in my system and I saw that you have signed up for Understanding Midlife Crisis, but you haven't gone through it. So I think there's a lot of things that might be answered for you by going through that, because that's how you're going to understand midlife crisis. So go back and see if any of these little bits are answered for you, because there's a lot to understand. And then once you do have the understanding, there's a lot to, I don't want you to take it so far that you get into analysis paralysis. I want you to understand just enough that you can go, okay, I've got this. Now I can focus here. Because when you don't get it, you stay stuck in the what's happening, why is it this, why? And it's not fair. But once you have an understanding, it answers the questions. It doesn't solve the problems, but you know what the problems are. So you can say, okay, I know that the problems are this. One of the things I have to do is heal. And now I can relax a little bit because I have an answer to why, and I can look over here at myself. That's going to be really important for you, because you're going to have to do this. He's going to come home, or he's going to come to the area. And what kind of boundaries do you set? What kind of door do you leave open? First, I want you getting healed before you answer all of those questions. You are still in a period that I would often consider a grace period for standing. What I mean by that is, I don't know if I want to stand or not. Okay, well, instead you're going through so much trauma and you're so emotionally dysregulated that it's not a good time for you to make a decision that you should end your marriage. Even if somebody else is making the decision for you, let's get you to a point where you make a decision on your own as well. And that's a grace period where I'm not going to make a decision yet. And so that is part of standing. Because right now, the pain of the sexual betrayal, you know it's too early for him to be through the tunnel. And yet you're asking, why isn't he choosing to get on the plane right now? But you know he wouldn't because it's too early. And I went through this with my husband. I needed to fix myself so that I could get into a calm place. So I want to make sure that you're in therapy. Because you're saying, how much more can I take of the sexual betrayal? I don't know how much more you're going to get. I do know MLCers. So I'm going to overlay your situation onto my situation. Your bomb drop was April 20th. Mine was on March 20th. At just this point, I was 1 year in, or not quite 1 year, or not quite 1 year in, to a 3-year issue. Immensely less, 3 to upwards of 7. So my husband Chuck's was short. But so I was only 1/3 of the way in, and you are saying, I don't know how much more I can take. That means that you're not healed enough yet. And I'm concerned that you're not getting healed in the way or manner or efficiency that you need to. Maybe you're not getting enough help. It's not because he's throwing too much at you in the sense of more than others, but maybe you have had too much other stuff thrown at you in your life. Maybe you have lowered resiliency. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But I'm seeing more trauma than I want you to be dealing with. Not coming from him, but how your body is handling the trauma. Because what we do is we don't rank everybody's, you have more trauma than me. It's how we handle trauma. So one person might be more traumatized by what is less trauma than another person. So it's your level of being traumatized. And you're in a greater state of fight or flight, or panic anxiety, or the emergency state syndrome than I would like you to be in 10 months in. So what I want you doing is I want you seeking some specified therapy for trauma. One of the ones we really recommend is EMDR. Look at others, of course, but I really want you to think about EMDR therapy because I want you to get to a place where you can have that desensitized. That is the D in EMDR. Eye modulation, desensitization. I think it's modulation. Eye modulation, desensitization, reprocessing. You desensitize the trauma. So it is not, basically, you make it less triggering. It is not triggering. Now it's just a memory. It might not be a memory you want to repeat, but it doesn't have the trigger of fight or flight. It doesn't trigger the chemicals that it felt in the moments. It's the memory of running from a tiger versus actually running from a tiger. Yes, that was scary. Now we're going to reprocess it is the next thing. So if you can find somebody who does that, it is different than talk therapy. I don't want to diss talk therapy. Go for it. But I just don't know that it can get people with trauma so far enough. So what I would like you to do is look for some trauma therapy. Very important. It's really very important. And that's for anyone listening to this. Okay? And if you're like, well, I don't have trauma in my past, you're having it now. And it can help with things like anxiety. And what really is anxiety, but possibly being put into a state of fight or flight? And if you're being put into a state of fight or flight when it is not the right time, when you're not being chased by the tiger, that's not healthy for you. And when you're staying in that, you're unable to get out of it. You are just bathing in those dangerous chemicals. They serve a purpose as a burst, not to keep you in them. Okay, so that's my biggest concern, is that I want you to get some help, because then you'll be more emotionally regulated to figure out how to handle when he gets home, what to do. Because I love standing. I mean, it sucks that we have to do it, but I love the idea of standing. And I love that he is saying, please. He's saying, can you keep the door open for me? If he is saying this from a manipulative, narcissistic standpoint, and that's his background, is being that way, that could be a problem. But if he's saying that way, maybe it's a manipulation and authentic all at the same time. He's saying, just believe in me. I know I'm not doing everything. I know it's the alcoholic wanting so badly to be cured, but not do the work to get cured. But please, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I just have to get through this stage. I have to get through this week. And in MLC, they have to get through this one and this one. And they have to wrap up all these loose ends. And he's just started. And so if you can't handle this, what are you going to do with the next 2 years if it's only a 3-year? And I say only because 3 years is early. It's within the 3 to upwards of 7. So it's within it's within the range. But most are longer than 3 years. And if you're saying, I don't know how much more I can take, and you're only 1/3 of the way through a short MLC, I don't know how much more you can take without changing what you're doing for yourself. So when he comes, let's talk about some boundaries briefly. He is coming home, and he has said he wants to come home to rebuild the marriage, but you already know he's not ready. So here's the problem you're setting yourself up for. And if you could say all that stuff, but given the other things you've said, I know it's a problem because you have these expectations. You've asked me, why would, if he wanted to rebuild, wouldn't he get on a plane right now? Well, knowing that it hasn't been long enough. So let's say he comes home and okay, I'm moving home. Everything's better. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be faithful to you now. First thing, he's wrapping up all these things. I'm not sensing that he is feeling bad or to a level of remorse for what he is doing. That I'm not saying has done, because it's not in the past yet. He's still doing it. So this is the person who is beating you and saying, please accept my apologies for what I'm doing for you, while still doing it. Okay? Remorse while still doing the actions that you need to have remorse for. I don't know that you can have remorse at the same time. That would mean to me that he is not ready to make amends for it. So he's not ready to do the repairs. He is not understanding what the repairs are. And why would he be? Doing the repairs, making the amends, means he has to take his focus and put it toward others and the empathy. And he's in his own crisis. And his own crisis means that he is focused on fixing these things, and all of these things in his shadow are bubbling up and saying, pay attention to me. And they're important. They are important, but they are also a tunnel vision where now they blot out the rest of the world. They blot out you and the others, and how damaging it is to you. Sure, sometimes he sees it, and the guilt comes in, and that guilt adds to it. Guilt adds to more of the things he feels bad about and wants to run from. So he's not ready. And I'm concerned that because you're saying, I don't know how much more I can take, you're going to jump at the idea of hope. He's going to come home. He's going to come into the house. And then in a few hours, days, weeks, probably not months, unless it's only like 2 or something, he's out again. Or he's immediately seeing her again, talking to her again. You sense that he is on an escape route, because he's still in escape and avoid. And then you feel rejected, you feel resentful, and you feel, I believed in you. What I want you to believe in, I want you to believe in that he could come through this, but that he is not through it yet. It's realistic optimism. Optimism isn't, I'm going to have so much faith in God that I think this one is going to work, and then you're going to crash because it doesn't work. It's realistic optimism. I believed that my marriage to Chuck was going to come through. And he came home 8 times, and I didn't believe each one of those 8 was the time. I had hope, but I also knew, we're not through this yet. He's home, and maybe we can repair it from home or not. I know that wasn't a great thing, but I could handle it. I'm not at the have faith that you can handle it. First, you have 2 kids there. So I didn't have kids when this was going on. So that made a difference. But I was emotionally regulated, unless I was at work. I compartmentalized well so that I handled things well at home. And I'd let things fall apart at work. You are falling apart too much to be able to handle somebody who is a multiple returner, say. So the boundaries are, honey, yeah, I am going to believe in you. I'm struggling with it. But I married you. We've been married for this long, and up until this, supposing it was, we had a good run. And I don't want to give up on that. And because I don't want to give up on that, I am not going to let you jump back in to this family life right now, because you're not ready, and we're not ready, and we all have to heal. And I don't think you're through this thing that you've been going through. You're having regrets, but you're not having the proper level of contrition, acknowledgement, insight. I'm not saying understanding, empathy, or remorse. I'm not seeing those things, and I expect that sometime I will. Someday. But you're not ready. And by saying you're not ready, I am not saying I'm giving up on you. But I'm not going to allow you to abuse us. And right now, because you're not ready, you're going to come home possibly with perfect intentions, and you're going to get sucked away again by this horrible crisis that you were in. And so I think you need some space to work through this. And if that means while I give you the space, you're going to avoid it, there will come a time when you stop. When you wake up and you realize, when you really get it, not that you think you get it now, but a time when you feel the waves crashing around you and see the damages that you've done, that's not the time you come home. That's the time you crash. And you crash into that. But you stop running. You might try running a little bit, but the crash happens. And then you really fall apart. But it is that falling apart, when you allow yourself to finally do it, that you can come back, be whole again also. You have to fall apart in this, because so much damage has already been done. And it's not going to help while you keep running and while you've had an affair. And if you don't understand the damage that that has done to us, to the betrayal of trust, to our children, to your leaving again, to how would I know that you're not going to do it again because you just did it. You told me to wait for you while you're still with her. I don't have reasons to trust you yet, because trust is going to be earned from you through consistent behavior through time. And you haven't been consistent, and there hasn't been enough time. That past 13 years, that's a history thing. But right now we're looking at the present. So, yes, I am not waiting. When I say waiting, I'm going to be living my life. That doesn't mean I'm dating. I'm standing for you because I believe in you and I believe in us. But that doesn't mean we're going to have a marriage right now, because we need to get through this, heal individually, and then we can heal together. So that means that I'm not giving up. I am holding on in that sense, okay? But it doesn't mean you can move back into here. It doesn't mean that you can come in and just always hang out around here. You need to work on yourselves. And it doesn't mean that we can't be together sometimes, and that you can't have time with the children and us as a family. We'll have to work those things out. I don't know how it's going to work for you. Okay. What it is you're going to work out, and what the boundaries are going to be, because it's going to depend on your specific situation right now. I would like it if he does not have open house access, like he can come and go anytime. It's your residence, and so he needs to be respectful of that. Now, as a boundary, if that's the boundary, then you need to communicate that to him. Other boundaries might be you need to call before, you need to plan to come over, that sort of thing. And the other boundaries are polite. You need to communicate in a polite way. So if he is being rude to you on the phone, you may politely say, this is not, you're not being appropriate to me. This is not the appropriate way to communicate, whatever. I told you before that I will hang up when you do this. And then you hang up. Then let's say he calls back, you hung up on me. I said, yes, I told you I would. Here's why. And now he called you right back and you answered, let's suppose. The next time he does it in this same conversation, you don't give the warning and you click. Now, if it happens again a week later, you might start it over again. You're being inappropriate. I told you last time that is inappropriate. I'm going to hang up now. And this next time, if he calls you back, you don't have to answer. You can, but you don't have to. You didn't have to answer the other time. But follow through with the consequence. The consequence is click in that situation. See what boundaries need to be set. Now, some of those you don't have to communicate the boundary until the issue comes up. So why would you say, hey, if you're on the phone rude with me, I'm going to hang up, if he has never been rude on the phone? Because then it's to him, Why are you telling me this? I've never been that way. So you wait for the issue on some things at least. On the house thing, you might need to bring that up first because it's your residence. And hey, I don't know what you were thinking about when you said you wanted to come home. Maybe you do need to give him time with the kids there. Maybe that's time with you, supervised or not, or just with the whole family. Maybe it's just with the kids, or maybe he should take them somewhere. You need to figure that out. You need to figure out what it is you can handle. It's your space, that house. And if you don't want him in your space, you need to work around that because it's yours. Okay? I am not even sure I have addressed all of your questions because there's a lot here that I really want us to go over. So if we go over through it, since I'm trying to read back as I speak, let me know what I have actually missed. Okay, and I hope what I have said is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question.